Good evening, everyone. My name is Caroline Schrenker, and I work in the advancement office here at Valparaiso University. We're so happy you can join us tonight for this first event of Inner Circle. Inner Circle is a new program exclusive to members of the President Circle Giving Society. It's designed to give you a firsthand look at the Valpo experience today and to show how your generosity is making an impact on our students, faculty, and programs all across campus. Virtual events like tonight's will be offered through this program, and they'll cover a wide variety of topics. Tonight's event will be in webinar format, and it will be recorded, so we'll be sure to share the recording with you via email. We extend a special thanks to everyone who submitted questions during the registration process, and those topics will be included in tonight's panel discussion. We will not have the opportunity to take any questions through the Q&A live tonight, but if you do have questions, feel free to submit those and we will try and get those answered for you as quickly as possible. And since we have a very full program, I will now turn it over to President Padilla to get us started. So good evening, President Padilla.
Thanks, Caroline. Thank you for all your hard work in putting this together. Attendees, thank you for joining us tonight. Your commitment and leadership are so vital to the success of this institution that made you who you are. So vital to the success of our students. Your generosity helps our students follow in your big footsteps. And boy, are they big. The fact that you took the time on a Thursday evening with your busy schedules just shows how committed you are to this institution, how much you love this institution. That's been one of the things that really has impressed me in my about first year that I'm completing on March 1st. The fact that you are here and all the other alums who I've met who are just so interested in the success of this institution, its viability, and its ability to meet the mission and instill the mission in the students that you see in this webinar tonight. You know, they are so special, and I know them all, and I'm so proud of them. Their parents are proud of them, and if you knew them personally, you'd be proud of them as well. And they're so impressive. You know, it reminds me that I don't know if I could have gotten in, because these kids are so smart, so insightful. They say things and think things and are so flexible in thought, far more than I was when I was their age. And there's something that we should honor and cherish. And you've done that by your contributions as members of the Inner Circle. They have some big footsteps to follow, but I have no doubt from what I've seen so far that they're able to do that. They're reflective of overall of our student community here. You know, I presided over the graduation in December, and it was in part graduation for those who were graduating mid-year, but also it was a graduation for those students in 2020 who were deprived of a graduation because of COVID. And so therefore they had been out for more than a year, and to hear them and to talk about and to hear them and listen to what they're already doing a year out of school, the impressive jobs they have all over the country, the graduate programs they got accepted into, impressive graduate programs. These are the kind of students that we produce and you help produce through your generosity. You know, we'll never forget your commitment and your love of this institution, what you've done for us and what you've done for these students. Later on, I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the things that we're doing here at Valpo and some of the issues that we're confronting. But remember this, the reason we're here, why I'm here, why I live in the middle of campus is for these students. I hate to call them kids because they're men and women now, but of course at my age, they're all kids. But when I meet with them, I go have lunch with them in the student union. I go to their athletic events, or when I'm in the student section cheering them at a volleyball game. Not only are they smart, but they're also light of heart. You know, we require masks at all places in campus because of Omicron. But when you come across them, you see the smiles in their eyes and the spring in their step. They have swagger, so much swagger, they swagger standing still. And they're an example of what a Valpo student is. So again, thank you for everything you've done for us. I look forward to a robust conversation tonight. And as I said before, near the end of the conversation, I'll share with you some of the things that we're doing here on campus. And I want to thank our students who are joining us tonight, Lem, Matthew, Dahliah, and Moira, and our discussion leader, Sue Weston, will introduce them a little more thoroughly in a minute. But let me introduce Sue Weston. She's class of 1973. She graduated with a BA in German and started her career in the national and transport business before transitioning to the real estate industry 5 years later. Her industry career spans over 40 years in executive capacities in operations, human resources, and learning and development at both publicly traded and private companies. Sue has operated the Sue Weston Company since 2010, where she consults and trains in the multifamily industry. She is a certified apartment manager, a certified apartment portfolio supervisor, a subject matter expert for the National Apartment Association Education Institute, credential programs, a member of the NAEI senior faculty, and a licensed Texas real estate broker. Now, I know as a real estate broker, she's got to be tough because my wife's a real estate broker and you don't want to mess with them. They're really persons. Now, from 2012 to 2016, Sue taught residential property management programs in the School of Business at the University of North Texas. And in 2020, she designed and taught 2 terms of real estate credentials in the ESL and Adult Literacy Department at Montgomery College, Maryland. She served on the National Council for the College of Business at Valparaiso University, and she's done that since 2016, and has served as the chair of the President's Circle since 2019. She is a force to be reckoned with. She is a great child of the great state of Texas. And I just hope that the state of Texas remains part of the United States, because I hate to lose Sue. But in any event, I want to turn this over to Sue. And Sue, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, President Padilla. That I had no idea you were going to say all that. I'm originally a Chicagoland girl, and that's where Valpo came into my life. But yeah, so that's a lot about me. I do want to take a moment and have each of our students introduce themselves. Tell us what year you are presently in your studies, your major study of focus, and where you hail from, because I think you'll be surprised at the variety that we have in where people come from. So Lem, will you kick us off?
Hello, everybody. My name is Lemuel Cartman, and I am from Chicago, Illinois, and I'm a junior, and my major is healthcare administration. I have a minor in public health, and I'm in a dual master's program for it's a 4+1. So I'll get a master's degree in 1 year, and I'll get a bachelor's degree in the first 4 years. So.
Wow, thank you so much. Moira, hi.
Hello, my name is Moira Lindner, and I'm a freshman here at VU. I'm studying elementary education as a major and political science as a minor, and I'm from Yakima, Washington State.
Washington State, all right. Dahlia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dahliah Wilkes. I am a music and theology double major and a French minor, and I am from Berwyn, Illinois, which is very close to Chicago.
Very close. Yes, it is. Thank you. And Matthew, bringing up the end here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Yee. I am a junior here at Valpo, and I'm pursuing a dual degree in music performance and civil engineering. And I am from Auburn, California, in Northern California.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome to all of our students. I know you don't want to listen to me as a moderator. It is my honor to be able to be with these students and to ask them some questions that will give you some background, some kind of understanding of what's uniquely their story, what they bring to Valpo in their Valpo experience. As Carolyn mentioned, we have taken, some of you were able to submit questions when you registered. And so we have taken some of those questions and be sure to incorporate them in the questions that we ask the students. I have to tell you that it has been my honor, out of all those things that President Padilla read, it has been my utmost honor to chair the President's Circle over the last couple of years at Valpo. I am all in when it comes to Valpo, and that's why it is so thrilling for me to moderate a group of the inner circle. We all have made investments in these young people. We've made investments in the university, in the campus, in the administration, and as an investor, I think it's appropriate that we look at the return on our investment, and the return is sitting in front of you this evening. And if you've been back to campus, it's on campus. So we will explore some of that tonight. As we begin, I do want to add one other thing, and that is that we are not scripted here tonight. While we have circulated some questions and the students have identified those areas that they would like to comment on or add a story to, add a personal observation on, I don't know what they're going to say. And I think that that's a wonderful thing. I think that what you're going to hear tonight is the real deal. And as an investor, you and I know that that is exactly what we need to hear. So I will begin. I'm going to watch the clock and be sure that we stay on task, but I also want to be sure that we hear from our students. So if that's agreeable, I'm going to start with the first question here, and this is one for Lem and Moira. Moira, ladies first, we'll let you start first. But the question is this: we've had several questions from our inner circle folks about the student faith journey at Valpo and how the university is supporting and encouraging that journey. So I'm wondering if you would take a moment, each of you, and give us a little personal insight into your faith journey at the university. Moira?
Gladly. One of my favorite things that I've been able to find here at Valpo is that while obviously not everyone has a faith practice, the people who do come here generally have some sort of belief, and the university naturally draws people who do believe and have a really vibrant faith. And so I've been able to find a wonderful group of friends who, while we challenge each other and we build each other up, and we're able to support each other in the areas where we might be spiritually weak. And I think my favorite instance of that has been through the practice of candlelight, which is the Sunday night service that we have here on campus. And it's done by candlelight. We have alternating weeks where sometimes we have student speakers, sometimes we have Pastor Kate speak, and it's just a wonderful worship service that it allows us to really be in community with each other and be real and get this rejuvenating experience with God. And it is one of my favorite parts of the week, without a doubt. And the better part of that is, so this has been a practice that we've continued even on weeks when there hasn't been candlelight. So when we came back from fall break, there was a Sunday night where there wasn't going to be candlelight, and my friends and I were like, that's not happening. So we went out and we bought our own little LED candles, and we just had a candlelight service in the Lincoln Hall Chapel. And it is one of the most beautiful, spiritually thriving groups that I've ever been a part of.
Wow, that's extraordinary. Thank you so much. Lem, can we hear from you?
Yeah, so I think when we're talking about faith, I think it's important for us to look at the university's mission statement. It highlights the fact that we want students to come here and find their calling, but not just find their calling, but also act on it. So here I've been able to put my faith into practice. I've been able to act on it. I've been able to act on my calling. And that's largely due to a lot of the people on this call. I've been able to do things that I've been called to do. I've been able to give back in proportion to my success. And that's just the biggest thing when it comes to faith for me on campus.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I also want to ask a question about scholarships. Scholarships is a very, very important thing, a very important part of what the inner circle does. So I'm wondering if we can ask our other two students to weigh in on how scholarships have influenced or impacted your Valpo experience. So I'm going to ask particularly Dahlia and Matthew to weigh in on that. Dahlia, would you start us off?
Yes, of course. Scholarships have played a huge part in my life, and being here at Valpo. Last year, my mother, who worked for the Chicago charter schools, her contract was not renewed, and currently my mother takes care of my older sister with severe disabilities, and with my sister's medical expenses and my tuition together, all we could do was depend on God. And that's what we were determined to do. And because God so graciously touched the donors' hearts to give. I am here today. I am growing and flourishing into a better young woman every day. And the donors' generous gifts have honestly inspired me to stay persistent in my prayer life, because one thing that I prayed for, or have been praying for, is that my mom doesn't have to worry about my college tuition. And in addition to that, I've been able to just experience so many things and come into contact with so many different amazing students, faculty, and professors. And while, we are in this current, situation, my faith is really what is keeping me going. And of course, the amazing generosity of the donors. And because I believe that God is faithful, and he still performs miracles. And to me, these scholarships were just a miracle in my life, and I will be forever grateful for the donors' generosity. So again, thank you.
Well, thank you for that story. That's inspiring. Thank you so much. Matthew, scholarships and impact.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I think my gratitude just can't be overstated for scholarships. The main impact that Valparaiso scholarships have done for me, they've truly allowed me to benefit from a well-rounded education. And so they've allowed me to do so much more outside of the classroom. And I guess one example of that is the Herman Hesse Center Scholarship, where it's an on-campus job, and it's been a great way to meet other engineers that are seniors, juniors in all the classes. And then I take pleasure in helping my peers in classes that I've taken. And it even solidifies the information that I've learned as I teach younger peers. And so without scholarships, my family had done some saving for college, but without these scholarships, that money would have been focused solely on paying for tuition and not on these out of classroom experiences. So like opportunities like studying abroad, I've joined a fraternity where I've been able to work on leadership skills and go to the Grand Conclave, stuff like that, or even some fun things like going to see the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, or going to the opera, or taking a day trip to Chicago. All these things outside of the classroom. These opportunities, the money can be focused in different places. So this was really a major factor in making my college decision, because I really, in the end, I wanted the option to study abroad during the summer and spend my money on other educational fun activities. And so there's one statistic that I've heard that only 10% of our time is spent inside a classroom. And I'd really have to say that the scholarships have allowed me to take full advantage of the other 90% of the time outside of the classroom. So again, yeah, thank you so much.
You raise a really interesting perspective that I think a lot of times we don't think about. That is that it's not just the tuition, it is the deepening, resonating experience that encases the fact that you're sitting in a classroom. It goes way beyond that and develops you as a human being. So that's a spectacular observation. Thank you so much. I want to kind of turn now to talk a little bit about subject matter and content and majors and fields of study. Moira, I want to start with you, but I also want to give you a little kind of props, a little whoop whoop, because I understand that your dad played basketball at Valpo and your grandparents went to Valpo.
My grandpa played basketball at Valpo, and I had grandparents who went. My dad did not attend Valpo.
No, okay, but I wanted to. I mean, that's a lineage of people going to Valpo, so that's really, really interesting. You're a freshman, and you've already identified elementary education as your major. And there was a question that one of our inner circle members posed about teacher prep and elementary ed, and I'm wondering what your hopes and dreams are for this endeavor.
I think ultimately, my goal with elementary education is to help the future generation of learners. Ever since I was a little girl, I always knew that I was going to be a teacher. It was just my calling. I had to do it. So I sought out good education programs. I sought out the counsel of excellent teachers who could be mentors. And I've had so many amazing people who've been able to cheer me along the way, despite the fact that there's all these doubts of education isn't going to pay well. It's not going to support you as a career. And it's very daunting to go into a career knowing that this is one of the most underpaid careers in America, despite the fact that millions of people do it. So going into this, it was very nerve-wracking, especially not knowing fully like how this is going to go. But I stay constant in knowing that ultimately this is going to lead to a better classroom for students who may not have been able to get the support that they needed, students who are gifted and aren't being able to be properly cultivated towards their academic goals, students who just need that little bit of extra support. Everyone counts. And by being a teacher, I'm able to stand up and be able to be the advocate for these students and to tell them the truth, to let them thrive and grow in an environment where they get to just find out what is real. And I think that's so important for the next generation to see, especially in the world that we live in, where there's so much falsehood, so much lies. It ties back to the what Lem was saying about our mission statement, is that we are to be a beacon in the darkness. And so I want to be that beacon of truth and hope for my students. And I think Valpo is really working to cultivate me towards that as a teacher.
Wow, that's a powerful commitment. And it's interesting that you described it as a calling, that early on you knew that this was where that the Lord was placing you, that this is where you needed to be. And I agree with you that today's times are so challenging, not just with the pandemic, but just with parental comments about what's getting taught in school, and children being, not so sure what's right and what's reality and what isn't. So wonderful, wonderful. So glad that you're doing that. All right, so I want to talk a little bit on the kind of a different major. Two of our gentlemen on the call are both engaged in what I would call pretty rigorous topics. Not that elementary ed is not rigorous, but with Lem, you are working in the healthcare, the healthcare leadership area. Matthew, you are working in civil engineering, and at Valpo, both the School of Engineering and the School of Nursing and Health Sciences have received accolades for their strength, for the quality of and the depth of the academic environment, as well as for example, in engineering for diversity. So given that both of those fields of study, there's a high expectation of proficiency. Civil engineering and healthcare leadership, a high degree of proficiency. Would you give us a sense of some of the intensity and practical application that you are learning in these advanced topics? What's that going to look like after Valpo? Matthew, will you start us off?
For sure. So I really feel that my education so far has been very thorough in preparing my classmates and I for our careers after graduation. And so actually I'm excited. My first internship experience will be over spring break and then hopefully over this summer as well. And this will be my first time truly applying the in-classroom experiences and what I've learned into the workplace. So while I don't really have the ability to compare Valpo's engineering program to another university's program, or say how it actually applies to engineering jobs at this point, I still really remain confident in my education here at Valpo. So as Sue said, like as civil engineers, like our work has great impact on human welfare, and I think that's really taken seriously here at Valpo. A really concrete example of that was that in some of my classes, there was a system of mastery problems. And it was the last class I had this in was in structural engineering. And so on every single exam, there would be one mastery problem out of maybe 5 or 6 problems. And for this problem, every last calculation in detail had to be correct. So your score was either 100% or 0%. And if you missed it the first time, you would have to retake it.
Yeah.
And you would retake a similar type of problem until you got everything correct. So I think the system really impressed upon us that partial credit is not going to carry over after we graduate. It just if you make a little error, that's not gonna cut it. So overall, I really trust that all of my professors, that they know what they're doing. They're being very thorough, and I know that engineering firms know the name Valparaiso University. So I think the job placement rate of Valpo engineers is impressive, because not only do we have the technical skills when we graduate, but really we're also taught the teamwork and interpersonal skills that we need to have. So we're Valpo grads and Valpo engineering grads are very hireable. I think the numbers speak for themselves.
Thank you. It's good that the practitioners know that we know, right? Lem, health science leadership. We need some, right?
Definitely, we definitely do. Here at Valpo, the College of Nursing and Healthcare Professionals, highly accredited, and for good reason. I mean, the courses are rigorous, but it's more than just the in-class work, kind of like what Matthew had talked about. More than that, it's the outside of the classroom work, applying what you learn in the classroom outside of the classroom, and that's really like what's happening here. So I've had a variety of opportunities to lead in a healthcare setting. So I had a variety of opportunities to apply my education, apply what I'm learning in the classroom, looking at health literacy, looking at the health education model, and looking at how does a healthcare facility be ran, correctly? How do we help people in need? And I've been able to apply this like in multiple ways. So one of the biggest ways that I'm applying it, I got an AHEC scholarship. So basically the AHEC program basically brings together a whole bunch of future healthcare professionals. And then we look at how we can change the healthcare system. And this is all great because it correlates with every single thing I'm learning in the classroom. I'm working with, even though I'm healthcare leadership, I'm working with nurses, future doctors, and we're all working in an interprofessional team. And my job on this team is just to bring everybody together. It's really just to correlate that and bring everybody together. And we look at certain issues, how we can affect these issues, and how we can change the healthcare system. And it's just great. So I'm getting prepared for the future. So after Valpo, I'm looking to head to Chicago to address some of these healthcare disparities. I think many times when we think about healthcare, like we're thinking about just the hospital, but healthcare is everything else. It's social determinants of health that determines people's health. Your zip code is a bigger indicator of your health than anything else. And a lot of times we miss that fact. So what can we do as healthcare practitioners to change that and affect that? So those are the things I'm looking to address. So, thank you.
Wow. I can tell as you're talking, Lem, that lights you up, that inspires you, that energizes you. So it's contagious. It's definitely contagious. Thank you so much. Dahlia, I have one more question for you, and then we'll kind of go into kind of a little wrap-up mode. But I want to ask you about at Valpo, tons of organizations, lots of experience and opportunities and activities. Which have you been involved with during your stay here at Valpo? And you're a sophomore, so you've had a chance to kind of dig in there and find out what works for you. And that's what I'm looking for specifically. How have those kind of activities brought out the best in you?
Well, last year, my freshman year, I was heavily a part of the chapel life, being a chapel volunteer, chapel leader. I also was given the opportunity to preach my first sermon at the candlelight service, as Moira mentioned. And this year, I took a little step further in my involvement, as I am a peer minister, where my job is to be a listening ear and help students kind of like navigate through their faith journey. And I'm here to answer questions, pray with them, or just, talk to them about anything that may be on their heart. I'm also an AIA ambassador / tour guide, where I do a little bit of work in the admissions office, as well as give tours to prospective students. I'm also a chapel leader where my job specifically for Friday, our Friday morning prayer is to recruit students to speak. And I can just say that all of these experiences has really shaped who I am today. I've really grown in my spiritual life, just as a person in general, being somebody who people look at as a mentor, has really, really changed my life, and being someone who, like, someone other people can come to for help, has really, really impacted me. I am a person whose life is devoted to service and ministry, and being able to extend my hand to help another person, it means the absolute most to me. And oftentimes, when I'm giving tours, the expectation, is for us to be able to connect with the student. And I even see that as ministry, being able to be a part of that, that decision of whether they're, going to come to Valpo or not, by, giving them my experience and sharing my experience. And, that to me is just a powerful, experience in itself. And I take every time I'm on tour, I take each moment to be able to really help, that person, because or the student or the parent really understand, what life is like at Valpo. And one particular experience that happened the end of last semester, I was responsible. So, like, when everybody was getting ready to leave for Thanksgiving break, I stayed on campus and hosted a feast for the students who couldn't go home, specifically for the international students. And just being a peer minister, because I was basically on campus to serve, as the peer minister. Whoever needed to or wanted to talk, or needed anything, I was there. I stayed in one of the, residence halls, because I felt, that everyone deserves, to be with family. And these students just so happen to not be able to go home, due to whatever, circumstance. And so God put it on my heart to stay on campus, and host, a meal for these students, because I could have, gone home, but these were students that couldn't, and so that was something that I was blessed to do. I find that I find joy in being a blessing, to others. And I had, found out that the dining services, were, closed. So I just, felt that this was, well, I knew that this was something I wanted to do. And I was honestly super blessed with the support of the university pastors, Pastor Kate and Pastor Jim, and so blessed by the church vocation staff as well, who ended up paying for the meal. Because I honestly, this was an idea that I had, and I didn't know exactly how I would do it, but I went by faith. I was going to see what money I had and try to, do what I could do. And I wasn't, looking for anyone to pay for it. But when I shared with them what I wanted to do, they were like, we're taking care of everything. And so God really, really showed up in that moment. And I can really thank the donors for that, because, if I didn't have these opportunities to be a peer minister and do the things that I'm doing, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did, for these students. And it was just a blessing. And
well, you've inspired all of us, and that's an absolutely incredible a story of giving back. It's humbling and it's inspiring at the same time. So thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned, the donors, again, the donors that make that possible. The fact that you're there, you didn't know how it was going to happen, and you put out the word and put out the spirit, and the money was found, the support, the backing, the financial backing was found. I'm wondering if any of the other three of you would like to kind of begin as we wrap up, what would you like to say to the Inner Circle members that are on the call tonight, and have funded some of the things that you're doing. Is there something kind of parting words that you'd like to give them before we close out? Anybody else want to weigh in? I'm turning it open, so you're going to speak over each other.
If no one else minds, I would love to just, reiterate the sentiment that I'm sure everyone else here feels, that we are so grateful for your support, because I know that, I'm super far away from home. And it was really hard at first to be so far away from family and from loved ones. And it is thanks to the generosity of the donors that we have a wonderful, welcoming place that draws people in and makes it a place that I can call home. And it's such a wonderful campus, a wonderful community that simply would not be possible without your guys' generosity. So I'm really, really thankful for all of the wonderful support that you give us. And I hope that you feel as if we are adequately returning the generosity that you do each and every single day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Moira. Anybody else want to weigh in? I'm also going to give you a little thought question here. If you were asked to describe your Valpo journey, this is dangerous, right? If you were asked to describe your Valpo journey in 3 words, now that's not 3 phrases, you can't cheat. 3 words to describe your Valpo journey. I'll give you just a minute to think about that. Matthew, you had indicated that you'd like to talk about paying it forward as you move from, you're a junior, so moving out into the world after your Valpo experience is right around the corner, and paying it forward. And then I'll circle back to everybody with your 3 words, okay?
Right, so I think it's something that's really easy that we all can do, is just once you graduate, it's really kind of just spreading the word, encouraging others to apply and to attend Valpo, and just kind of tell your Valpo story in that sense, and how great of an experience it was and how great of an education that Valpo provides. And I think another thing is just being a resource to Valpo students as much as you can. I mean, once you graduate and as you go out into the workforce, you won't know as many people because your peers will also graduate, but still being a resource for Valpo students to come and helping them network in whatever field you are in. And then for me specifically, I think just being a strong proponent for hiring interns in whatever company I'm working for. I think that's just really important for getting college students off the ground. So definitely looking for those the Valpo people and helping them out before they graduate.
Sure, fair enough. All right, wrapping it up, 3 words to describe your Valpo journey. Anybody want to tell us about before I go there, if you're struggling with that, anybody want to tell us about your favorite place on campus?
The chapel.
Yeah, okay, chapel. We got you.
Duesenberg Recital Hall.
Gandhi King Center.
Where again? Say again, Lem.
The Gandhi King Center.
Ah.
Office of Multicultural Programs.
I like hanging out in my friends' rooms. It's not like a specific place. Like we have one friend who always hosts us, but I guess Brandt Hall is my favorite place to be.
Oh my gosh, when I was on campus, Brandt Hall was not the place to be. So times change, right? All right, 3 words, your Valpo journey in 3 words. We've heard some absolutely phenomenal stories tonight about your journeys. Can you condense it into the old, less is more kind of perspective? Anybody want to jump in? Okay, go for it. All right, you've got the screen.
Hardest blessing ever.
Oh, wow.
I would say faith, diligence, and love.
Faith, diligence, and love. Love it.
I would say purpose, growth, and passion.
This growth and passion.
I'm gonna go creative, collaboration, and vocation.
Thank you. I think if we combined all 12 of those words, we would have Valpo in a nutshell. It seems like to me, as a donor, as an investor in Valpo, as an investor in you, you give me purpose, you give me calling, you give me those kind of things. And I'm going to go back to the recording and ask Carolyn after we get done here. I'm going to pull those 12 words and see if we can put something together on that. So thank you again for being part of this panel, for taking your time and your energy. I know it's freezing outside. I'm in Texas, as President Padilla says, so freezing rain and 29 degrees is like, we're panicking here. The stores are all empty and everybody's, worried when the power's gone out a couple places. So we're buckling down, but thank you for taking the time tonight to share with the inner circle. I look forward to having more of these and being part of more of these. And I look forward to seeing you next time I'm on campus. So it's been a wonderful pleasure for me to serve as your moderator tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to President Padilla for some closing comments and some more insight for our inner circle members.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, students. Inner circle members, if you listened intently to what these students had to say, you realize the return on your investment is immeasurable. It's immeasurable. It's not valued by numbers. It's measured in a student who sacrifices her Thanksgiving to not be with her family on one of the most special days of the year so she can exercise her faith, put it into action for those who are literally thousands of miles away at home in a new country, a foreign country. These are the kind of servant leaders we produce at Valparaiso University, where when they graduate, they're not going to measure their success by how many zeros are in their paycheck, but instead by what they pay back, what they pay forward, what they pay in good faith deeds for others. That's what you're investing in. And you can see already they are on the road to make your investment so worthwhile. You asked the students, Sue, about what 3 words would describe Valpo and where their most favorite place is. I'm going to share in that. My 3 words are beacons of hope, because when you look at these students, not only do you see them as lights, as beacons, but ultimately it's hope. Hope that they are going to be the generation that will make our country better, make it a more civilized, less polarized place where people care more about each other than what they do about themselves. When I see them in action, I just feel so better for our country's future. My favorite place, I live smack dab in the middle of campus. And it's my favorite place, not only because I'm living with my family, but because it enables me to go have lunch or dinner with the kids in Founders, our cafeteria, to go to a basketball game or a football game or a volleyball game, to walk my coach among the students where they love my dog Coach. And they even actually fight sometimes to walk him. Probably do it without pay, but I can't do that. But it's just me living in the heartbeat of this campus. And I'm so fortunate to be here. living and breathing among these students, our faculty and staff. Let me share with you some important things that we're doing right now on campus, or also some successes we've had. Let's talk first and foremost what probably is on top of everybody's mind the last 2 years, and that's COVID. You'll be happy to hear that I don't want to say that we have conquered COVID here at the university, but it sure as heck hasn't conquered us because of measures that we took early on by requiring vaccinations and now requiring boosters, by requiring testing before the kids came back from Christmas break, by requiring there were masks everywhere. We have less than 1% positivity here on campus. Even though the county in which we live in Indiana, the county is Porter County, the positivity rate is 25%. It's on fire. But we have this island where we protect each other. We wear a mask not only for ourselves, but for each other. We get boosted not only for ourselves, but for each other. And because of leadership among my staff who run a COVID task force, we have kept our campus safe. And more important, well, not more importantly, but maybe equally as important, we didn't have to go remote when we started this semester. Like a lot of schools did, they went remote 2 or 3 weeks in the beginning. We never had to do that because everybody cooperated and, as I said, cared for each other as much as they cared for themselves. And the results are less than 1% positivity. None of our kids getting severely sick, having the equivalent of colds at worst. That's because we're a family here. We're also involved in something that will change the course of Valparaiso University. And we're in the middle of strategic planning that will set the course for the next 5 years of this university. Because small private tuition-dependent institutions like Valpo are facing challenges, systemic challenges, we're going to have to do things differently in the future. You may have heard about what's called the demographic cliff. It's commonly thought that it will occur in 2026 when the number of college-age students, 18 to 24, will precipitously drop in the Northeast and the Midwest part of the country. That includes us. So what that means is that to the extent that this university is competing for a piece of the pie with all the other private universities and public universities in Indiana and elsewhere, the pie itself is shrinking. So that's going to be a challenge in order to sustain enrollments. But we are doing things through strategic planning, trying to be bold and think outside the box, and how we don't permit the demographic cliff to defeat us, just like we didn't let COVID defeat us. But in doing so, we're going to have to really be bold and think about how we can reimagine ourselves and do things differently. Now, we're going to still always be a strong academic institution, the one that you graduated from, with the great colleges that we have, business, nursing, engineering, arts, and science. But they may look a little bit different in the future. We may create a new college because we haven't had a new college in decades here. And we'll do that in response to market forces and how we can produce an educated workforce for the surrounding community, the Midwest, and the rest of the nation. Because remember this, our job is not only to produce enlightened servant leaders, they're not taking out loans, or mom and dad aren't struggling to pay their tuition just so they can graduate and not have jobs. We have to see ourselves as part of an ecosystem in which we're producing an educated workforce for our employers in the area, so that not only it sustains the economy, but it helps our students be able to sustain their careers and have good and fruitful lives, just like you have had, members of the inner circle. On the sports front, we have done, I don't know if you're aware, but our volleyball team, a women's volleyball team, went to the finals of the their version of the National Invitation Tournament, the NIT, and their version in women's volleyball, and beat behemoths like the University of Connecticut and other teams that you would think that would just smash us. But we beat those teams, unfortunately, only to lose in the finals, the championship. But it's just another example of what I always say about Valpo. we're a small yet mighty university that punches above its weight. And when you couple that with, again, as I mentioned, the graduates at the December 21 graduation, where I see where our students have such great jobs and are competing with students from allegedly more prestigious schools or well-known schools, it just goes to show you that we are indeed punching above our weight, and we'll continue to do so. Last couple of days have been kind of fun for our students because they had 2 snow days. I saw them sledding and I wanted to kind of join them, but I didn't want to break a hip with my luck. I didn't want them to have to carry me to the hospital. That'd be so embarrassing, but it was kind of fun. But now we're back in the saddle come tomorrow. And we're just going to continue on until spring break, when many of our students, as you recall from your experiences, go off on service trips. That will continue. We're going to be careful because of COVID, and we're going to take precautions and have them take precautions. But the one thing you can say about these students, when we told them when they left for Christmas break to be careful, to mask up, to when they got together with family, just to exercise caution, they did. Because when we tested them upon reentry, their positivity rate was less than, it was clearly less than 10%. My recollection, it was probably less than 5%, because they listened to us and they exercised good judgment, which is typical of our students. So as I said before, we're having a lot of fun, but we're learning a lot. Our students are working hard. We have some challenges, and they're going to be part of it. But whenever I see a challenge like the demographic cliff, all I need to do is to see one of our students trudging through the snow with his or her backpack, getting to class in less than 0 weather, or when I go into the cafeteria and see their smiles, or just I'm joshing around with them or teasing them, I realize then everything I do is for them. And I don't want to let them down, and I don't want to let the generations that will follow them, I don't want to let those generations down. And that's the same thing you've done through your generosity. You don't want to let them down because you want them to be as successful and as happy as you have been. And I suspect in large measure, that's because of the education you got at Valpo. So I appreciate everything you've done for us. I look forward to seeing you and meeting you in the flesh, come homecoming or any other time you come to visit. If you're nearby, come and visit. If you're far, when you're ever in the neighborhood, come by and visit. I love meeting you and hearing about your experiences, because it's the continuity among the generations that so impresses me, and that makes me even more eager to make sure the greatness that's Valparaiso University continues in the future. So thank you very much. May God love you. And I'm going to turn it over to Caroline to wrap up.
Okay, so we could not be more grateful to Sue, Lem, Moira, Dahlia, Matthew, and President Padilla for such a wonderful program. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for all of the insightful and heartfelt information that you shared. And we look forward to doing more of these events. Thank you to everyone who joined us for the event. We will get more information out to you about future Inner Circle events, and we look forward to seeing you again. So have a wonderful evening. And again, thank you so much to our students. You are extraordinary, and you are the reason that we do what we do. So thank you to everyone, and have a wonderful evening.
Good night.